Welcome to the Cables to Clouds podcast. Cloud adoption is on the rise, and many network infrastructure professionals are being asked to adopt a hybrid approach. As individuals who have already started this journey, we would like to empower those professionals with the tools and the knowledge to bridge the gap. Hello, and welcome back to the Cables to Clouds podcast. My name is Chris Miles at BGP Main on Twitter, not X, still not calling it X. On Twitter, joining me as always is my beautiful co-host, Alex Perkins at Bumps in the Wire, and Tim McConaughey at Juan Golbez. So you may be, if you didn't hear our last episode, you may be a little confused why you're getting another episode of the pod just a week later after the last one, where we typically release this on a fortnightly basis. So this is actually going to be our first standalone news episode. So not to rehash it too much, we covered this on previous episodes, but we're going to start doing a fortnightly news update that's standalone, separate from the podcast episodes, just so we kind of don't timestamp our episodes with guests and things like that. You know, we want, if someone wants to go back and listen to an episode of one of the guests we had, we don't want them to have to sit through, last year's news or something like that eventually when it gets to that point. So that's why we're putting this on its own standalone thing. It's probably going to be a little bit shorter episode, maybe, around the 30-minute mark is where we're going to try to keep it. We'll see how we'll see how
there's a lot of news.
This week might be trouble.
Yeah, we'll see how true to that we actually stay, but that's the idea. So without further ado, let's get into the inaugural standalone news episode from Cables to Clouds. So like you said, Alex, it's been I don't think we've done an actual news coverage since mid-December or something like that. So
yeah,
you would think during the holidays not much is going to transpire, but a whole bunch of shit happened. So we've got some pretty big news to cover.
Not just a bunch, but like big, heavy hitting news, man.
Yeah, right. Even if these just three major things happened, it would still be a huge news week nonetheless. So let's roll right into it. So Alex, you wanna take it away? Which we've talked a little bit about this one already, but let's kind of get into the weeds with it.
Yeah, and speaking of interesting timing, I think this one came out the week right after, during Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's. Was Cisco's intent to buy Isovalent. And this one just kicked off, right? This was the first of the really big announcements, but man, personally, this came out of nowhere. I was not expecting such a crazy acquisition. I thought, Isovalent was prepping to be that next big unicorn. They make, for those that don't know, they make a product called Cilium. They've basically created EBPF, and one of the products that came from that is called Cilium. And Cilium is basically a CNI or a container networking interface, right? So it's like a networking plugin for Kubernetes. And pretty much everyone that has a Kubernetes distribution, that being AWS, Azure, GCP, right? Everyone that has one, they've kind of all standardized on Cilium. So that, to me, I think was probably one of the most surprising parts, is that Cisco this is an amazing deal for Cisco, right? This is super forward thinking on their part. So major congratulations there. I don't know. What were your initial impressions of this?
Yeah, it was, like you said, came out of left field, did not see it coming. Mainly because we don't see, I say this a little bit in jest, we usually don't see moves by Cisco like this that seem so smart in the cloud space. Yeah. So this one was damn, okay. It's I think Tim, you kind of touched on this on the last episode. It's okay, somebody over there is listening and is tuned in and is making the right moves right now. It's probably more than just one person. It's probably a well thought team and everything. But I'm very curious to see where this goes. When you think Cilium, you think their integration, with the CNI's container network interface and Cisco's product set. I don't see the direct mapping on what fits in where, right? Maybe a little bit in the security space with the network policies and things like that. But I don't know exactly what this is going to mean, but like you said, that this has already been adopted as pretty much the gold standard for CNIs, right? Everyone's using that as pretty much the industry standard. So they immediately are going to have an inlet to a lot of the foreground there. So I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I don't know. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I covered we talked about this on the last episode, and of course, I'm seeing the shorts now come out from the last episode where we talk about this, so it's kind of timely and funny. So Isovalent is a major contributor to the Cilium project, so I'm curious to see. I think Cisco's always struggled a little bit with that balance between having to show value to shareholders and also being able to be kind of that contributor, if you will, to open source type of projects. Obviously, I think everybody is holding their breath, waiting to see how the hammer is going to fall on this. And I don't actually think we're going to get an answer in any short period of time, right? So, I
think the acquisition doesn't close until the end of 2024 too. So I mean, it's going to be a very long time before we see anything.
And even after that, they're going to have to go through integration and incubation and just trying to figure out like what the hell are we going to do with this, right? So they'll have a plan. I mean, especially since the acquisition is not going to close until the end of 2024, like you said. Like when they did this with Viptela before the acquisition was even closed, we had there were Viptela people inside Cisco doing. We were learning about Viptela and stuff inside Cisco ahead of time, so they're already working on that. I'm not worried about that. I think everybody's waiting with bated breath to understand what Cisco's plans for Cilium, as a major contributor that Isovalent is, and EBPF as well, right? That's a huge deal that impacts a lot of open source projects beyond just Cilium,
and we should probably touch on like just because Cisco is acquiring Isovalent and getting Cilium, it's more than just Cilium, right? like they have the other Tetragon, is that the another one?
Yeah, Tetragon's like the observability.
It's a big.
Tetragon's the security piece. Yeah,
right. And then service mesh. They have their own service mesh, don't they? Isn't that another?
Yeah, Cilium service mesh. Yeah, and
that's right.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt, but the thing about the Cilium service mesh is that it's like sidecarless, right?
Yeah,
and I put that in quotations for those that aren't watching, because there's a huge debate in the service mesh community around what it actually means to not have sidecar proxies next to all your containers. So that's going to be another interesting thing to watch play out.
I haven't seen that discourse. Is it just like splitting hairs on technically whether or not you can call it a sidecar, or is it we
can call it a service mesh or
right.
There's a lot we need to talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be super quick, but basically MTLS is used a lot, right? Like service mesh allows all these different containers to talk to each other using MTLS. The problem is that basically requires some kind of agent. So the argument is like, how can you say that you're not using a sidecar, but you have MTLS going? Because you need something there to like broker that connection.
Chicken and egg type.
There's definitely some arguments on the back end around this for sure.
Yeah, makes sense.
We need to, and I think we have it planned we have it on the roadmap for this year, but to have these more and more of these CNI type of side, these kind of discussions, it's becoming like very obvious that like most of our listener base might not be up to date on a lot of these stuff that we're talking about. So it's coming. We're especially as we see it more and more in the news, more and more in our networking daily lives, we're going to put together something to start talking about Kubernetes.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people going on this journey, whether or not they want to or not. So
for real,
we'll try to do our best to try to help along the way. All right, so let's go to the next one. Probably this probably was bigger.
If that wasn't enough.
If this one's probably bigger than the first one, but I'll let you take it away, Tim.
Man. Wow. Yeah. So again, this has just been the time for bombshells, man. I don't know if everybody was just waiting for this time of the year when it was going to be quiet to just drop the biggest bombs possible. So Hewlett Packard Enterprise is acquiring Juniper Networks, which I don't think.
What?
No, I had no clue. No.
I don't even, I don't even know how to follow up that piece of data, right? Like, I mean, you talk about out of left field and not seeing that one coming. I think we all knew that Juniper had been actually, you know, what's funny is I actually kind of felt like Juniper was finally finding their own way, like in a way that not just being the shadow of, you know, the Cisco shadow, or like the foil to Cisco that it had been for so many years, and actually coming into its own identity as especially with things like the Mist and Apstra and all of that. Yeah, this one's really, really surprising. So for those who haven't seen it yet, again, Hewlett Packard Enterprises is buying Juniper Networks to just basically, you know, HPE is huge. HPE is gigantic. It's like one of those global conglomeration things where they just got everything, right? So they're buying Juniper for approximately $14 billion. The valuation is also very interesting to me.
Which, that seems like nothing. Yeah. That seems, well, not nothing. $14 billion isn't nothing, but you know what I mean? Like, you would think Juniper is worth more than that. So it's like, I wonder if that plays into it.
Well, Cisco bought Splunk for 28 or whatever, right?
28, yeah.
Right.
So double the number.
Yeah.
So and of course I've already started seeing, and if I'm being honest, contributed to all of the memes out there showing like how your router is gonna refuse to send packets because it's low on toner. But,
dude, the Juniper, the chassis one with the printer on top was the fucking,
I know.
That was,
let's
put that in the show
scanner.
notes. Yeah, dude, it was so fucking funny.
Or or like, you know, hey, I need you to send these packets. No, I'm low on cyan. But, you know, it is important to point out that Hewlett Packard Enterprises is a subsidiary, whatever you call it. It's not HP. Yeah, it's not HP, your printer company, right? It's all the same global core, but, you know, it is a completely different and well-seasoned arm of the company, if you will. I mean, HPE, like I said, they've got a bunch of other technologies. They're heavy in compute. So there's a lot of speculation about this. I personally, a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe it's that it's going to be, they're doing this to get a strong networking, seat at the table. I don't know that I agree, unless it was just like a target opportunity where it was cheap enough that they were like, okay, well, we can go ahead and buy this and pick this up. I think all the AI work that Juniper's done is very loud and out there, and people know about it, and I might have worked into it too. I'm wondering how much we're going to see companies getting snapped up like this, you know, if they have AI IP or something, right, as the race continues.
I mean, that has to be it, right? Because like, I can't see HPE be like, oh, we really want the service provider, centralized market. Like that couldn't have been their target. It has to be the AI, Mist, all this kind of stuff, right? And Daniel Dibb made a great post about this. Like, what does this mean? And there was just comments flying out left and right. Like, it's more like I'm concerned to see what dies as a result of this.
Yeah,
and, what happens with Aruba. Like how does that factor into this? And because Juniper Mist is Mist the wireless thing? Or has Mist expanded to more than just wireless at this point?
It's like their Meraki type thing. Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. But if I worked for Aruba at this point, I would be probably a little nervous, right? Like Aruba, unless they're going to try to position it as like a upmarket sell, right? So that they don't impact Aruba at all, which I don't know, like maybe I definitely nobody thinks I won't say nobody, I'm sure somebody does, that like, hey, Aruba is like the same class of technology and hardware as, say, Juniper, Cisco, whatever you will, right? It's more definitely, I don't get that feeling. So yeah, I guess we're gonna see, but that's anyway. So not to belabor the point, but that's a big bombshell. I'm not sure when this one's going to close, or I think everybody's just going to have to wait and see what HP is going to do. Hopefully they don't pull a Broadcom. Well, we'll get to that one later.
Real quick, because Chris just made me think of something that I hadn't really thought of until now. But as far as like getting the service provider industry, I could see an argument, about maybe they are targeting that in some way, because a lot of the press release was about AI, and maybe this is like 4D chess, and they're thinking ahead of like, as AI expands to the edge more, they'll already be there entrenched into some of like the service provider telco kind of space that's already on the edge, building those edge networks, right?
As like a service offering type thing.
Yeah, kind of like they'll just already be there, and they already have like the data center portion of the AI stuff figured out. I don't know. There's something there that I'd have to really flesh out a little bit more, but your comments just made me kind of think about that a little bit more.
Yeah, you might be onto something. Maybe we'll see Apstra at the edge. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Apstra's gone, bro. It's like
I can't. I can't see it. I truly cannot see that Apstra surviving this acquisition. But who knows?
Yeah, that's what. Like, I can't like express how out of left field this thing was. Like, I was like, that's like so. It was like that'd be like someone would be like, oh yeah, Blockbuster is acquiring Cisco or the Netflix or something.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, is like this thing that you kind of think of as old and archaic, not necessarily old and archaic in their entire product offering, but in their network offering. You know, you don't really consider HPE a top player at all, right? They come out.
They've just been around forever, is all, right? They've just been around. That's their claim to fame. It's like if IBM, bought. I don't know, like if IBM bought Arista or something,
right.
Hey, you never know now.
Dude, we got
it could happen. That could be the next one.
We got a couple of weeks left in this month, bro. We could, it might be the trend. Okay. So let's on to the next one. So this one, like I will say this one made me think immediately that it was kind of a doomsday thing for GCP, which is probably not the case now that we've looked at this a little bit further. But so Google has announced that they will stop charging egress fees to transfer data out of Google Cloud. And I think this, I believe the target point of the article was that, they'll help you migrate to another, or they won't charge you to migrate your data to another cloud. But I think didn't they have a clause in there that you actually have to close your Google account once that happens? Yep. So you gotta get the hell out. Like you can't. It's like you don't have to stay here, but you gotta leave.
Don't let the door hit you on your way out. Yeah.
What was also interesting is that you do it as it doesn't quote unquote cost anything, but it's on a rebate model, right? So it costs you, but they'll rebate you essentially at the end.
Right. But initially you think is this the first piece of the sunset dominoes for GCP? Is this them being like, yeah, go ahead. we'll see you later. But no, Tim, you actually found some documentation out there that this might be related to actually regulations. So maybe you want to speak on it a little bit more.
Yeah, just real quick. So actually I didn't. So I work at Aviatrix. We have a presence in Europe. One of the legal team in Europe said actually, that there's a new data law. I forget what I think it's actually called data law or something like that. It's actually got a super generic name. It's coming out, and some part of it had something to do with killing egress fees, at least in Europe. I have to go read through it. I haven't had a chance to read through it yet because I just found out about it. And then actually I subscribed to Forrest Brazil or I don't know.
Brazil.
Is it Brazil? His newsletter since years, so 2 years ago or 3 years ago now that he did the Cloud Resume Challenge and all that. And he actually had it in his newsletter that he just put out, and he had a different take on it. He had really good takes on it actually. And he just left Google. He'd worked there for a while, and so he had mentioned it. He said he didn't really think it was the case. I'll it's a newsletter, but I'll get his. We'll make sure we have his info in the article notes somewhere where you can take a look at it and whatnot. But he didn't necessarily think it was that. But I was originally I was just like you, Chris, where I thought it was going to be. Oh crap! Actually, I took the other track and I thought, oh well, maybe Google's doing this so people will use Google more that are already in other clouds. But yeah, the way this article is written, it's just like an exit strategy, which is really weird to me.
I think it's hilarious that right, Chris, you were saying how a lot of people immediately thought, "Oh God, is this it? Is this when Google kills GCP?" And then Tim, in that newsletter you sent us, the part of the article is about how everybody thinks that immediately anytime Google makes any announcement.
You can't blame us. You can't blame us.
No, it's their
Google
own
does
fault,
this all the time. Like you know, it's they if it looks, what if it looks like a whatever,
quacks like a duck, walks like a duck.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but I wonder if that's like, if they do stop charging egress fees in the EU, I wonder how many people are going to start just backhauling internet traffic to the EU. You know, if it's not a sensitive, you know, latency sensitive, you know, workload, maybe they'll just start backhauling.
Well, you don't want to do that though, because then you fall into GDPR and a whole other can of worms comes into play.
Yeah.
That's true. But, you know, maybe just Netflix.
I don't know. Like I'm just like, I've question marks here. Having originally I thought, hey, this might be a smart move for them to use, because I mean, you know, they're, first of all, I think we can all be clear that they're not, you know, the leader, obviously, in the CSPs, right? And that their offers generally, the service offers aren't one-to-one with like AWS and Azure. Like just the services that are available as a one-stop shop for a cloud, if you will, right, are not one-to-one. So I thought when I first read this, oh crap, this is actually really smart for Google. They're going to lean into the fact that they know compute, the fact that they are K8s, the fact that they are AI, and they'll make it easier for customers to get in and actually move data out of the cloud to the clouds where there are, and just harvest the compute cost. But yeah, now I'm like still scratching my head.
I was hoping to read that somewhere, but yeah, I didn't see anyone even saying that. But I agree, it would have been a good play to frame it that way. But
oh well.
Yeah, so interesting. We'll see how that one boils out. I mean, all this, pretty much these three things, you know, it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg thing, right? It's all gonna grow into something much bigger. So we'll have to.
I saw a quote recently, or not a quote, but just like somebody said something online recently that I thought was really interesting. That it was a prediction that years are going to increasingly look different going forward, and it's like so true. Like I'm just thinking of the last couple of years since COVID and how everything has changed so much every year, and you know, tech especially is just. I mean, look at this. In 2 weeks, we had all these crazy announcements. It's like things just move so fast these days and so unexpectedly. It's going to be a crazy year.
Yeah, I don't know how you plan your career path at this point anymore. You just kind of.
I don't either.
Yeah, dude. I'm glad we're not in our early 20s anymore.
I feel for the people who are just starting to get into tech. Like I wouldn't know. How could you spend more than 2 weeks on anything without it changing underneath you?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so I guess we'll round up this last one. I know we're coming close to time on his. So, Alex, you want to touch on this last one about VMware?
Yeah. Right. So VMware, they already kind of announced this a little while ago. I think people were just surprised when they actually did it for some reason. But they basically took all their accounts private, right? Is that the wording? I think I'm messing up the wording, but they took all their partner accounts internal. So they like basically shut off the partner program, and it's on hold. Like they literally told partners, don't even apply for reinstatement. Like we'll let you know when we can start redoing this pipeline, and you have to like sell 500,000 a year or something of services to be even considered. So it's crazy, man, how quickly like they just are cutting things out. Like they already cut out all these external communities. They cut off the partner program now. Like things moved very quickly.
Yeah, I was joking with someone. It might have been Will actually. That I was like, they have to pay this. Apparently, they have whatever they spent on acquiring VMware. They must have to pay it back really fast. Maybe it's like a 3-1 ARM or something. Like I don't know, like a mortgage or something. I don't know. It's insanely how quickly they are absolutely gutting any kind of like or moving to capture every last penny.
Well, remember the day the acquisition happened, people were posting pictures of like, look, they've already changed the signs.
Right.
And it was like everywhere. They're already posted over.
But that has an immediate impact on business, like for them and for all the partners, right? Like, is like I will say I haven't been close enough to it to see, but is this going to cause like partners to like die?
Because if you're a VMware integrator,
could. Absolutely,
right.
Yeah,
and you just lost your entire channel, like, I mean, how would that go? Like, if you were a VCP, like, and you worked at a VAR, and that VAR lost its ability to, do channel partner with VMware. Yeah, I mean, how does that work? You can't get, like, I have no idea how that would work.
Yeah. Was it blanket like everyone, or do you think there were like sort of some backdoor deals where like, look, we'll keep this open?
I think there were one or two like
Okay.
huge integrators that they kept, but they were the ones that are like the I don't know if it was really WWT, but like the WWTs of the VMware partner program, I think, are probably the only ones left.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Tim, you make a good point too. Like, what's going to happen to like certification program? Like there's a lot of downfall from this that could happen down the line. That's just
I mean, if you're supposed to be if you cut a large part of the career track out, where that people would have gone to integrators to help customers do VMware integrations or something like that. Yeah, dude, it's a house of cards that I'm kind of curious if Broadcom even realize or cares. The answer is no to that one. If that they pulled out, the rug pull they've done.
All right. Well, I think we're about time. There are some other articles that we'll put into the Fortnightly news document. So if you check the show notes, there will be a link to that. There will be a couple of the links. The first stuff that we found interesting, one about how to break into a cloud engineering career. Yep. EBPF predictions from Isovalent. Well, that one's probably pretty topical, pretty good to read. So we'll throw that in the show notes. So definitely check that out for some additional news that happened over the last few weeks here. So with that, we will wrap it up. Like I said, this was the inaugural standalone news episode. So we're going to bring this to you on a fortnightly basis. Again, we have the listener survey out there. We've posted it on socials. We'll put it in the show notes and all that. So please fill out the listener survey if you haven't. That would greatly help us to make sure that we're bringing you something that you want to hear on now a weekly basis. You will be hearing Cables to Clouds once every Wednesday.
Chris has been waiting to say that since we started. Just so
I was like, dude,
knows.
think if we could say every Wednesday, how good that would be. But yeah, so we will be releasing this on the podcast will have a release every week. It'll be fortnightly between news and an episode with either a guest or a roundtable type thing. And we're working on some stuff for this year. Hopefully some more technical content focusing on, solutions, things like that we got some good feedback that people want to hear that. So we'll be working on that. Lastly, any closing thoughts from either of you guys?
Slow down, please. Stop buying companies just for just a week or two would be fine. Really, I got to catch up.
Yeah, no, same thing. I just echo that. I mean, it's crazy. Like there was supposed to be holidays and slowdown time, and instead we got just our opposite. I was talking on Discord privately, man. It's been like nonstop, just talking about all these bombshell announcements one after another. So yes, please slow down.
Well, if in case it doesn't slow down, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks with the next news update. But so this has been Cables to Clouds. Thanks for checking it out. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button, all that crap, right? And we'll see you next week. Bye. Hi everyone, it's Chris, and this has been the Cables to Clouds podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcatcher, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications for our YouTube channel to be notified of all our new episodes. Follow us on socials at Cables to Clouds. You can also visit our website for all of the show notes at cablestoclouds.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.